From James Harden throwing up gang signs to J.R. Smith's affiliation with the Bloods, here are some NBA players with gang affiliations. Of course, James Harden is a surprising name. A former MVP making the list is very interesting to say the least. But clearly, if you're surprised to see him on the list, then you don't remember the time when he used to throw up all those gang signs a few years ago. While he didn't have a serious affiliation with any gangs, Harden befriended several rappers who did. Most notably, he was close friends with Lil Wayne, getting him a front row seat, right after the rapper complained about never being given the chance to watch the action from up close. A few years ago, he referred to Lil Wayne as Five, and that's usually a sign used by the Bloods. However, the likes of Slim Thug and Lil Duval, though, two prominent rappers who are in deep with the Bloods, called out Harden, saying that he was only a pretender and didn't have the juice for that life. That said, the 76ers star has his own gang too, the Beard Gang, but it's far from notorious. While Harden doesn't seem like a player who'd be interested in that life, it's hard to mistake Tony Allen if we're being honest.
Allen, if he wants to shoot it, let him shoot it. Don't let him drive. Don't bite on Tony Allen.
The former Pelicans defender was known for his hard playing style in the NBA.
Remaining if they can't inbound the ball. Lob for Davis, defended, Tony Allen. Grizzlies have time, Tony Allen.
And given his extremely rough upbringing, it shouldn't be a surprise that he played a certain way. That said, it also gives us a look into Allen's affiliation with gangs, and Allen admitted to being involved in a life full of crime during his youth. So far, though, he's managed to steer clear of any known affiliations to any gang. But he's also displayed many signs during games that hinted towards a possible involvement. The guard was also involved in a bar brawl in Chicago during his early NBA days, which actually resulted in a man getting shot. There were multiple threats on his life, too, with security in the arena beefing up every time he was in action. But for what it's worth, Allen said that he never stole anything during his youth and was more interested in hustling, like moving drugs and all that. Right. No wonder he's on the list, huh? Just like Allen, though, there shouldn't be any surprise over DeMar DeRozan's gang life.
Corner worked against DeRozan, sweet crossover. DeRozan got part of the ball, and a foul underneath as Precious Achiuwa went up. So Precious Achiuwa at the free throw line coming up for the Raptors here.
I mean, he literally grew up in Compton, and he wasn't a stranger to violence at all during his youth. In fact, he actually lost an uncle who was a Compton Crip in a gang war back when he was 5, while his best friend was shot over a dice game when DeRozan was only 17. The Bulls star has managed to keep a distance, though, but doesn't mind throwing up a sign or two during his games. There were many rumors about the Crips protecting DeRozan because of his affiliation and their admiration for the star, believing that he was one of them. DeRozan himself admitted that if not for basketball, he doesn't know what he'd have done. And with no other options, it's probably obvious that he'd have ended up with a gang for sure. Talking about forwards with gangster backgrounds, you can't skip Steven Jackson. The former NBA champion actually became involved with that life at the age of 9. He grew up in Port Arthur and was exposed to gang life for the majority of his life. And Jackson heartbreakingly lost his 25-year-old brother to gang violence when he was a teenager. Of course, after making it in the NBA, the forward was often asked about his involvement with the Bloods, but he always denied taking part in their activities. Even so, he initially accepted that he was associated with the infamous gang. As good as Jackson was on the floor, Carmelo Anthony definitely took the NBA by storm after making his debut.
Of the night for the Clippers. Here's Anthony again. Hit it again! Carmelo. 3.
Just waiting for some energy, it feels like.
And you got to give credit.
And maybe they get it here with Anthony throwing it.
Unlucky not to win a ring over the course of his career, so far at least, Melo also had a big life off-court. In fact, the former All-Star grew up to a life extremely different to the one he lives now. And it wasn't a surprise when he popped up on a DVD called Stop Snitchin' back in 2004. Yeah, the DVD was part of a campaign designed to stop citizens from providing any information about gangs to the police, and Melo was featured in the video. While he didn't exactly say anything to incite violence or cease cooperation with police, it remained a bit of a dark spot on his otherwise spotless resume. He even denied it later, but let's be honest, he definitely knew what he was doing. Now, some of these names may have been a surprise, but I'm certain you knew that J.R. Smith would definitely make the list. Most popularly known for the frustration he brought to LeBron after passing up a shot in the finals, Smith's also known for his affiliations to gang life. Covered in tattoos, Smith's involvement with the Bloods was rumored to be a big deal, and some of his tattoos apparently were hinting towards the big-time rivalry between the Crips and the Bloods. In fact, he was actually questioned by the authorities during his Nuggets days about any possible involvement, but they probably didn't find enough evidence. Talking about evidence, though, the authorities found plenty when they sentenced Javaris Crittenden to prison for 23 years. Now, he claims that he was shooting elsewhere and accidentally shot and killed a young woman, but the former Laker experienced a downward spiral ever since his move to Los Angeles. That's because he joined an LA street gang and became a member of the Mansfield Gangster Crips during his rookie year. So when he moved to Washington a year later, the gangster mentality stuck with him. That led to Crittenden pulling out a loaded gun on a teammate, and he was talked into lowering the gun by Caron Butler, another star who talked about how he'd actually seen far worse during his childhood. After all, Butler was a drug dealer at the age of 12 and was arrested 15 times by his 15th birthday. Thankfully, his love for the game led him to earning a scholarship with the University of Connecticut, which would blaze the trail for his NBA glory days. Drafted by the Miami Heat, Butler would go on to win his only NBA championship against the Heat in 2010-11 and enjoyed a decent career in the NBA. But he easily could have ended up a gang member in his adulthood too, as he explained to Oprah Winfrey. However, the last entry on the list is someone who can't deny his involvement with gangs, no matter what. I'm talking about the one and only Zach Randolph. Not a very scary name if I'm being honest.
Making great decisions with the ball in his hands.
Falls back, in and out, and in again.
A soft touch of Zach Randolph as he licks his fingers.
But Randolph has an insane rap sheet. He was arrested for possession of cannabis and intent to sell just a year before he got drafted, and was also taken into custody after being involved in a robbery and battery. The two-time All-Star has very serious ties with a Portland gang called Hoop Family, who are further associated with the Crips, and their members have been investigated for murder, firearms, and narcotics. In fact, Hoop Family made a lot of headlines at one point when they placed a price on the head of Sebastian Telfair, a former NBA player. Telfair was later found with an assault rifle during a search of his house, and he claimed that he had it in order to protect himself from the Hoop Family. That's all I have on the NBA players with gang affiliations.